Okay. All right. Hello, beautiful humans. I'm going to give it another minute or so just to see if anybody else wants to hop in before we open up. So I invite you just to take the next 60 seconds, close your eyes, really allow yourself to ground and come into this space. We're all on different time zones in different places in the world. We've all come from different days, different experiences. So really use this time now to gather and collect your energy. Allow yourself to sink in for the next 30 minutes uninterrupted. Make sure that your phone is on airplane mode, the door's closed, there's no distractions. And just tune into your breath. Notice how your body's feeling. Maybe for the first time today, you're taking a sacred pause and really allowing yourself to be present, to be still. And just notice that however it is that you are feeling right now is totally okay. Whether you've had a stressed out, busy day, whether you've been involved in some kind of conflict, or you've had a joyful, effortless, beautiful experience today. Just acknowledge that whatever's going on for you is totally valid, totally welcome here. Might like to just lift the shoulders, draw them back a few times, taking a few big rolls to open up through the heart space. We spend so much of our time hunched over our phones or computers, or in that bad habit of leaning forward. And so just using your physiological capacity to open through the heart. That's what our intention is here through gathering together and sitting with Cacao. So do anything that you need to get nice and comfortable. We will be sitting in stillness for the next 20, 25 minutes. And I find that just cracking open through the chest cavity really allows me to check in with that part of myself and melt from the head to the heart. So thank you so much for joining me today. It is such a pleasure to share the medicine of Cacao with you. I missed last month because I was on a plane from Canada to Indonesia, and now I'm sitting in Melbourne, Australia. So I definitely also need some grounding. So I'm right there with you in collecting that frenetic energy and calming down my nervous system, which is also a byproduct of cacao itself and the ingredients of cacao. It does this for us, right? It potentiates the release of dopamine in the system, which is the pleasure hormone. So it makes us feel good. And for us as women in particular, we have tended to have some kind of relationship with chocolate over the course of our lives that we know we go to for a sense of comfort or safety or emotional warmth and a feeling of goodness. And part of why I'm so passionate about sharing cacao with my collective is to disentangle this connection between pleasure and feeling good with guilt and shame or self-judgment, because my own journey with food or feeling good and using food as a vehicle to feel good, chocolate especially, has been bombarded with all of these stories then of scarcity or restriction or feeling bad or shameful about that behavior. So cacao in its purest form, if you have a cup for yourself too, that's awesome. But if you don't, that's totally fine. Ceremonial grade cacao is the best to drink in ceremony, but if you don't have access to that, then whatever you do is perfectly fine to still allow yourself to open and attune to the spirit of cacao. And the purest form of chocolate, cacao in its ground up bean, is this vehicle for pleasure and feeling good. And what a gift from Mama Nature, Pachamama herself, to just feel good as a byproduct of consuming this ingredient. So I welcome you to ask yourself, or set this intention, ask the question to allow cacao give you the answer of, how good can I let myself feel in this experience? How good can I let myself feel? And it's the letting yourself feel that is the most important part of that, because cacao teaches us that this feeling of goodness is accessible to us wherever we are, whatever we're doing. So when we calm our nervous system, we get still or we get present, we listen to the body, we can let love in, we can let goodness in. So that's my intention for both myself and for this call today. And it'll kind of work like a little guided meditation almost, a journey inwards. And then toward the end, I'll open up the chat box. Feel free to use that at any time as well if you do have something that arises that you'd like to share. So down the bottom of this Zoom screen, you can hover over the chat. It's a little like speech bubble, and you can type away in there to everybody else. So we can share some intentions, and I'll have a bit of a discussion at the end. But for now, if you are nice and comfortable, getting nice and grounded, and just closing down your eyes. And if you do have your mug of cacao or your cup of tea, you can just rest it now at the heart space. And if your hands are empty, just resting your left palm and then your right on top over your heart. Or perhaps one hand over your womb space or your belly, your sacral chakra or your solar plexus. These power centers of the body that, when we attune to them, help us ground down and send all of that energy, the chaos of the mind, downwards into the soles of the feet, so that we can feel calm, we can feel clear, and we can feel a sense of control. Not in the way that constricts us, not in the way that rejects a sense of flexibility, but a control in the way of ownership and responsibility for our emotional landscape. So whenever you feel called to, you can start taking a sip of your cacao. There is no rules or particular strict guidelines as to how to sit with this medicine. Feel free to let this incredible plant into your system in whatever way feels good, perhaps bringing it up to your lips and really immersing yourself in the experience of it by smelling it, by feeling the warmth in your hands, by calling in the spirit of the plant. And if that sounds a little bit weird, think about how everything on this planet in this experience has a certain personality. These certain qualities. So what qualities does cacao give to you? Just switch on your curiosity, your childlike wonder, and explore how this space is making you feel. For me, cacao tends to give off this really feminine, motherly quality, like she's kind of wrapping me up all nice and warm. And perhaps before you take a sip, you might like to set an intention as simple as, may I be present, may I feel good, may I be open, or perhaps using a few deep exhalations into the mug of cacao, you offer up anything that needs to be let go of, that needs to be released. This is your time to choose what feels good for you. And so now, with the eyes still closed, I'd like you to focus on your breath for the next 6 cycles, with the intention of completely recalibrating the nervous system to settle and to open in order for us to draw more light into the body and to ground and anchor that into this present moment. So taking deep inhalations in through your nose, all the way down deep into the belly. Let the belly expand, no tucking in, hiding, holding in. Allow yourself to take up space and then pause at the top of the breath briefly for a moment before you allow yourself to exhale slowly, either out the mouth or out the nose. With every exhalation, you'll notice that this space that you're creating within the body kind of closes in, contracts. And with every inhalation, you're expanding, opening up. Notice the subtleties of how the chest cavity rises on your in-breath. And on your out-breath, the belly button comes toward the spine, your shoulders come down, and you sink even deeper into the ground beneath you. And so focusing on your final round of deep, focused breathing for now. And on your exhalation, send out anything else that needs to go, that needs to be purged from your cells, from your body, from your being. Anything that feels stuck or stagnant or sleepy or no longer in alignment. Just intend that that is to go now and trust that there's nothing else you need to do with it. That simply that intent is enough for your body to set it down, to resolve it or to alchemize it. And now draw your attention down below your seat bones, through the cushion or the blanket or the carpet or the floorboards beneath you, through the soil the Earth's crust and every single layer as you go down, down, down deep into the center of the planet with your mind's eye until you reach the core, this bright, luminous ball of energy, this infinite source of groundedness and creation. And as you focus on this ball of energy, this bright, white, luminescent ball, your awareness begins to melt down from between the temples, from the brain, from the mind, and drips down over your body into the earth, creating this more coherent and cohesive, balanced perception. Experiencing what it's like to be truly in your body, safely, trusting that it's okay to be here, that you are held, and just simply noticing if there's any tightness or hesitancy into dropping into the body. And that's okay. That's okay. Just using every out-breath to maneuver that attention, that awareness downwards into the earth as we ground, settle, and anchor into this body, this moment. And so you have this bright, beautiful, expansive ball of light at the center of the earth. You have access to this to pull energy from. And so now create a beam that connects you to the center of the earth, to the core of the earth, this cosmic ball of infinite energy, like a channel or a pillar of light connecting the base of your spine and the core of the planet. And channeling energy between your body and this light might look like sending it up and down as a wave or a pole, a pillar. Perhaps the light moves quick or slowly. Perhaps it's a laser beam, or maybe it's soft like a river. Whatever you're visualizing is perfectly suited for what you need right now as you draw that energy up, back into the body, like you're plugging yourself in to get recharged. Just in the same way as you plug your iPhone in to receive the juice of the electrical socket, feel that yourself is channeling this light, receiving it deep into your cells, receiving it as medicine, as an energy boost. And know that you have access to this resource at all times, no matter if you're stressed, tired, ill. You can bring this light into the body, into the cells, into your bones. Drench yourself in this light. And simply stay here for a few more breaths, really receiving the light of the earth. Feeling it trickle its way through every vein, artery. Feeling the light circulate throughout your whole body. And if there's any spaces that need a little bit more soaking, if there's any injuries or points of pain and discomfort, just gather and collect even more light to drench that area. Notice what it feels like when the light comes from the center of the earth and hits your tailbone, the base of your spine, your sacrum, and then channels its way up the spine to the crown of the head. With every in-breath, draw this light up the spine to the crown of the head and just notice if there's a felt sense of this electrical current moving through the body. If there is any tingling or pulsating vibration. Perhaps there is nothing, and that's also okay. Finally, now just bringing your awareness to the heart space and simply asking, what is it that my heart knows? What is it right now that my heart knows that it can tell me, that it can offer me? What is it that your heart really knows and wants you to hear? The answer can make no sense. Maybe you receive a word or an image or a thought. Perhaps it's a puzzle or a riddle, and maybe it'll make sense later. Or perhaps it's a little whisper of truth knocking that your body recognizes as real, that you now feel fully open to receive. And before we close this meditative space, you can choose to ask for guidance or a specific question on anything else that you need access to your intuition for. Perhaps there's something in your life that feels confusing or overwhelming, a decision that needs to be made. What else is here for you? What does your heart want you to know? Offering your gratitude. Thank you, heart. Thank you, body. Making that mug to heart contact or hand to womb, hand to heart, hand to belly contact. And giving your heartfelt thank yous for this beautiful vessel that you get to live from, this cosmic meat suit that houses the truth of who you really are. And whenever you feel ready, you can choose to bow your head, flicker open the eyes, get used to the light drawing itself in, flooding in, and just coming back slowly to the room that you're in, the ground that you're on, becoming aware of the temperature in the room, Any noises that might be outside surrounding you. Taking a few final sips if you haven't done so already. So I'd love for everybody in the chat box just to give me one word of their current state of being. Just one word to describe how it is that they feel in their body right now. Because when we name something, we make it even more real. We create a reference point that we can return to. And to me, that's the whole point of creating ritual or ceremony in my life. It's a reference point to come home to my body to. No matter what is happening externally in my life, no matter what country I'm in, no matter if I've not eaten well the day before, or I'm stressed about something, or all of these different factors that can make us a bit wobbly and stray from our center. Ritual and ceremony is an opportunity to come back inwards into that sacred pause, into my heart space, into remembrance of who and what I truly am, to access the truth. And cacao is the vehicle for that for me. It's not necessarily about everybody choosing the same mode of ceremony, but this whole idea of making life feel sacred has been the most liberating choice for me, to truly take ownership of my nervous system and my internal world. Because when we don't take responsibility for that, it's really easy for life to feel overwhelming and to shake us, and creating a daily ceremony or a weekly ceremony, or like these virtual ceremonies that are held every full moon, there's a reference point for us to return home. So that is why we're here. And also, I'm also curious if anybody else is having an interesting time with this full moon. Having awareness around the lunar phases, once again, just allows us to create those reference points, right? It doesn't have to be any more woo-woo than that. But the full moon is the time of the month where everything is illuminated, right? Everything comes into full view. If you're standing outside in the middle of the night, you can see your way around because the light of the moon has brought everything out of the shadows. And so if we think about this on an emotional or a energetic or intellectual level, the full moon can highlight what we've been keeping in the shadows for the previous month. The things that we shut down or dismiss or save for later. Which is why it's pretty common for everybody to have a bit of a hard time around the full moon. It's like all this stuff gets highlighted and lit up that we've been keeping away in the shadows. So what are you allowing yourself to be illuminated so that you can alchemize it, so that you can purge it, so that you can let go of it or release it or take aligned action in a specific direction that will support you? That's where the ownership comes in, right? That's where we get to be the conscious creators and the drivers of our lives instead of taking the back seat and letting life take us for a ride. Lindsay, I so feel you. You might be able to hear it in my voice. I'm also a little bit blocked up at the moment and tired and achy. I'm so glad that you feel trust, Rach. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. So my only other piece to share is around honoring what these cycles mean for you, what these different phases mean for you. As a woman living in a man's world, I think there's a lot of shifts happening, but we have we are a product of a very patriarchal society where men can kind of show up and be the same every day, right? Their hormonal systems are on a 24-hour clock, whereas women have a hormonal system, which means that we're kind of a different woman every single day of the month. So connecting to these lunar phases allow us to be reminded of how, as women, we also have different cycles and phases of who we are and what each phase represents for us. Oh, Jade, thank you so much for sharing. Holding you in that sadness, love. Let it be felt. So yeah, moving forward throughout this month, how can you plant the seeds of more respect for your own cycles, for your own ebbs and flows as a woman, and really taking ownership for what that means for you? How your energy might, shift from one week to the next, how your needs and your boundaries will have to be different depending on if you're feeling really light and energized and strong and extroverted, compared to the time of the cycle that you feel more inwards and introspective. I have a blog post available on my website, spiritedseeker.com, that is all about how we can create our calendar in accordance to our feminine cycles. So if you haven't read that, that is an awesome one. It goes through the different archetypes and the different seasons that we have every month, and will just give you some practical tools into how to create a schedule and boundaries around really honoring and respecting those different times of the month for you. Total game changer. Holy moly. And just once again, thank you so much for dropping in, tuning in. If you'd like to, before you hit end, as we end the call, in the chat box, share one intention or one thing that you're letting go of for the month ahead. So whether that's something that you want to bring into form, that you're manifesting, that you're creating or working toward, and one thing that you're purging and letting go of that will be in support of that manifestation. You can take your time and think about that, or just let the answer come and share that right away. I think it's so powerful to share those kinds of intentions in a space where there's other collective energy kind of backing you and cheerleading you from afar. As we harness that collective energy, I feel like there's more potency that gets put behind that prayer. So one intention and one thing that you're willing to release. My intention for this coming month, for this coming season, is to create a home, and to make a home for the first time in a really, really long time. And what will have to be let go and purge from my system to be able to do that is my really strong association with the archetype as the wanderer, the traveler. Those two things can't really coexist for right now. So that's what I'm intending to cultivate and ready to let go of for now. And I really appreciate that you're here. This is my favorite thing to do every month. So thank you for gathering. And if there's anybody that is kind of curious about cacao, or curious about meditation or ceremony or ritual or moon phases or whatever other weird shit I like to talk about, please forward my website onto them, invite a friend, send them the Zoom link, whatever. I would love to see more and more faces here every month. Yeah,